Hey, how's it going? This is Scott Engler. I'm a published author and thought leader on contemporary job search strategies and really how to describe and sell yourself in an appropriate way on LinkedIn to attract the right opportunities so you could get that next role and start getting more of the job opportunities that you really want. And today what I want to talk about is the new model of personal branding. There's new models of job searching, but I want to talk about the new model of personal branding. And I want to talk about it for the baby boomers, the baby boomer-ish job seekers, essentially anybody that will learn the old school model and have that ingrained in them, and what the new school model looks a little bit more like. So what I want to say first is you're not doing anything wrong. And I know when people come to me, what I hear all the time from people is that they feel like they're doing something wrong. They can't understand why things aren't working out, why they're not getting opportunities, or maybe they're getting too much. They're just not the right opportunities. So, I hear it all the time. You're doing what you learned. And that's not wrong. You're just doing what you learned that worked in the past, and it just doesn't work anymore. And that's really the simplest way I could put it. And as, a client said last week, she said, Scott, if I was using, this new model of branding, 15 years ago, I probably would have gotten in trouble somehow for speaking that way, or just wouldn't have seemed as professional. And the truth is she's probably right. And so, that's what I wanted to first just help you understand, that you're not doing anything wrong. This is just simply a new model and a new thing to do in our current marketplace. And so just to give you kind of a picture, an idea of the old school model of branding, it reads like a cardiologist report, right? It's really dense. There's a lot of jargon in your industry. It's not easy to digest. And while that was what, a lot of baby boomers have learned to do, it simply doesn't work well anymore. We live in a different world. There's a different process to the job search. A lot of it's digital and online, I'm sure you're learning. And this just doesn't carry over well. And so the new model of branding, really in its simplest form, is you are taking what I call speaking at a PhD level and having it be really dense, right? Like reading, if you're doing a dissertation, or when I was in grad school, I had to do these long-term papers and essays, and you're making it read more like a children's book, honestly. And it's because one of the reasons for this is because you have to understand the amount of information that we're being bombarded with is crazy, and our brains can only process so much. And coupled with understanding that, recruiters, the recruiting industry has shifted too. I know people always want to give recruiters a hard time. They're doing the best they can. There's not as many of them anymore, and they're looking at 300 profiles a day. And they could only digest so much information. They're a human being. And so the way, LinkedIn works which is, primarily I'm helping people at this moment is if they're spending an average of 10 seconds on your profile, you can't even really digest 2 sentences of the old school model of branding on your entire profile. 10 seconds is not a long time. I challenge you to try looking at 10 profiles today for 10 seconds and see how much information you could really take away. And then maybe you'll have somewhat of an understanding of what it would take, what a recruiter feels like when they're being bombarded with messages from people I get too, and I'm not even a recruiter. Scott, look at my profile, look at my resume. It's who has time to do that? 10 seconds on a profile, try it out for 10 people, and then imagine getting bombarded with messages and trying to look at 300 people's profiles, and you'll see why the new model of branding is necessary. If you don't want to do that, it's fine. But just, if you like to experiment and put yourself in someone else's shoes, it really may help give you that understanding. The second thing is just, this new model of branding really takes a finesse. It's an art. And, do on your profile summary in a short amount of time is extremely challenging. And I've had to get help myself. We all need help because we have learned a different way. Especially I know the baby boomers have, and it's not even just learning the different way, it's how to effectively learn the new way. On LinkedIn, we're 95% of recruiters. How do we get that in our summary, which is the first thing most recruiters are looking at? And it is hard to take years of experience. How do we highlight the right things? Where do we put them? How does it flow well? There's just a lot to it. It's not an easy process. And so what again, the last thing I want to say is just remember, you're not doing it. You're not doing anything wrong. You're doing what you learned, and it just simply doesn't work well anymore, especially not on LinkedIn. And for the reasons I've been discussing. So if you understand this, if this is speaking to you, if you know that this is just at its basic sense, a new skill that you need to learn to develop, look, companies aren't going to pay for this for you. They're not going to do it for you this time. So, this is where you need to learn that this is just an investment you need to make for yourself and your own professional development. And this is the way it is right now. Whether we like it or not, it's just the way things work. I don't like it that someone, is just swiping through and they only spend 10 seconds, but that's just the way it needs to be. That's how they have to process it, for their own sanity and to do their job. So I'd encourage you, invest in helping yourself. Find somebody that understands how to do this. If you feel like I could be that person, if what this message is saying makes sense to you, if you know that you need to learn this skill to develop or fall by the wayside, if you need to, by learning this skill, as a baby boomer or some, anybody could benefit, but really the older generation or, seasoned generation, for lack of a better, way to say it, just they learned a different way. And so it's time to learn a new way. And so I'd highly encourage you, if you're, a senior level job seeker, if this is, this is a new skill you need to do, if you're a CMO, COO, director of operations, CISO, anyone in senior management executive, I'd highly encourage you to reach out to me. That's my, that's my specialty with serious inquiry. And just to clarify, serious inquiry means that you've already done the exploring. You've already reached the point where you're like, I need to do something different. Not like I'm still thinking about, what I might need to do, because we all go through processes of change. This is like, nope, I know that I need to do something differently. I'm ready to start doing something differently right now because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired kind of thing. So reach out to me, serious inquiry on my LinkedIn, Scott Engler, ENGLER. The only Scott Engler in Oregon. Shouldn't be hard to find. And remember, the path to experiencing different results starts by asking different questions and taking different actions one step at a time. Thanks so much.